Yeah, here at Kyadondo Rugby Club, the day one of the Kabaka Coronation Rugby Sevens. Here with a host of gentlemen discussing day one and what transpired. Ruben, you copied my wardrobe today. I don't know why. Me, I planned my outfit 2 weeks ago. I don't know about you.
I have a team jersey. You have an official's jersey. So I don't know what you're saying.
So who copied who?
No one copied the other, but I think we're here for the same cause.
Yes.
After all that has happened in the past 24 hours.
Yes, actually, that's why I said that, because I had picked my outfit and then the chaos happened from Friday 10 p.m. and now I am being asked why I'm putting on this and what agenda I'm trying to pass. But we have some guests here.
Before the guests come in, can I be honest? I think to a certain extent Uganda Rugby is scripted.
Yes.
It's like a telemundo, and when everything seems to be going nice, there is always that one thing that goes wrong.
What
Telemundo
name can we give it? Kigozi should give us a name.
El Cupo del Deseo.
There is no second chance here. Yes, but we have some guests here. East Beast Ads, one of the baddest rugby bloggers as well. Just tell the people watching about you and your work.
Yeah, of course, East Beast of East Beast Ads. We do rugby updates and feeds and advocating for women in rugby mostly. Yeah, so we are here for the Kabaka Coronation Sevens, and we are giving you everything, all the recaps with the fat cats.
Yes, but one thing I want to ask, you have been alleged or accused. Are you part of Sauda Media?
No, really. Actually, one time they even accused me of working with the fat cats. So
what's that accusation? Is it so bad to work with a fat cat?
No. It's a good thing, but then East Beast Ads is an established brand, so not mixing with others.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Ruben, introduce the other guests.
Yeah, so with me here is, I don't know what capacity I should introduce him in, but he's a former player, current fan, very passionate fan. Jeremiah Kigozi, who has been around the game for a minute. He has so many interesting takes. Some he gives me most of them offline, and some of them I can't put them online. But I told him one thing: on the day when we start streaming games, he'll be the senior commentator for the Uganda version of our game. Yes, I'm very well.
Maybe notably to add, Kigozi, I think one of those photo shoots, one of them involved Coronation Sevens. I think your display picture, the header picture on your X. So good to see you back at the Kabaka Coronation Sevens.
Yes, it's a good feeling to be back at the Kabaka Coronation Sevens. But why am I even speaking English? Ndi musanyufu nnyo okubeera ku matikira ga Kabaka Sevens mu misanvu gya Kabaka. Nti I think it was but anyway.
Okay, you can mix.
I can mix. We are happy to be here today. It was a good day. Ended in a perfect way. Amazing. Being at the Kabaka Coronation Sevens, having that photo is a moment I very much love. I was next to the Katikiro. I was in Mengo at the palace. So it's always a good feeling to be at the Kabaka Coronation Sevens, celebrating 32 years. It's a good feeling, and I'm happy to be on the podcast. No, it's not a podcast. Being interviewed today.
The recap of day one, but we'll just get into it now. Day one, East Beast. Let's start with this last game that we watched, and then we can ease up into the other key games of day one. But what do you think about this game of Walukuba and Heathens?
Kankopingeko Kigozi, just because it's Kabaka Coronations, Kabaka, which means tuli kutaka lya Kabaka waneno, right? Buganda. Tubadde twakava mu lubiri okola launch. So a game wesembeyo, that's Heathens ne Walubit oba Walukuba ebadde so intense, and ye game gye tubadde tusuubira okuggala day one of Kabaka Coronation circuit nti ebadde nnungi ebaddemu emifumbi n'ennyama okulagako nti waliwo ne gwe basindise mu bbaati eri neyeekweka eyo bw'otunuulira waliwo try gye bakoze wano omukulu bwe mbaseerabidde abadde etwawo akoze ayitako nti kata agwa omuntu mu bulago so game ewadde nnyo abantu moral ne balowooza nti singa oba yesooseewo naye kibadde tekisoboka so kizze bwe kityo Heathens buli omu abadde agisuubira okubeera nti esobola okuwangula game eno but unfortunately munnange kiganye Walukuba neeba beat so lwakuba nti to giving credit ku Kampala teams but then tulina okuddayo where rugby started from, that's Nile RFC from Jinja so tulaba nti olugendo lwa rugby lukomyewo okubeera nti Walukuba ekomyewo mu game eno nga is hotter than hot.
Yeah, but Kigozi, the way you're seeing things, he has of course given his take on everything. Day one, from what you saw, what are your thoughts?
Ebirowoozo byange ku lunaku olusoose game esembyeyo nti Walukuba esobodde okumegga Heathens tekinneewuunyisiza. Bw'otunula empaka ezisembyeyo Walukuba ye yaziwangula yamegga buli eyalimu mu mpaka nevaayo ng'omuwanguzi era olwaleero eraze nti bwe zibanga mpaka z'amatikira ga Kabaka baganda baffe okuva ebusoga bazeefuga so kikulaga obumu obwa Kabaka bwa Buganda n'okwagala n'okukyaza n'okuyingiza buli omu so olunaku olusoose nze nganze lumpadde essanyu nti luwereddemu ku ntikko.
Yeah, of course, as the guys are speaking Luganda, just to pay tribute to, of course, Buganda Kingdom. I can't speak Luganda, but I'm not going to try to speak a lot of it today. But I think it was a great one because, first and foremost, the Kabaka Coronation 7 starts what is going to be a marathon of Sevens rugby. Sevens rugby, which gives us a different dimension of what Ugandan rugby can do. I started my day today watching a bit of Prince Lu Sevens, which is the second leg of what's happening in Kenya. But I'm happy to see that there's a similar trajectory of competition. The teams came out and you could see who has been preparing early enough and those who started like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. The competition, the pressure and the fitness has been very key. Walukuba is one of those sides that show that, you know what, we have been preparing hard enough, and you could see the difference in fitness levels between the two sides, them and Heathens. But also looking at so many of the other things that have been happening. I mean, in the group where Cobs is, almost all teams have lost games, so it came down to the mathematics. Of course, Cobs still is on top of their particular pool, but
by virtue of a coin toss.
Yes, by virtue of a coin toss. But you could see that there's a lot of competition, and I think that's the beauty of Sevens. Can we continue to have so many teams shake tables so that we can have an exciting tournament? I don't want us to have by circuit 3 where we are having apparently 2 teams above the rest on the overall log. So I want us to have a competition up to circuit 7 where we have the overall winner that has actually earned their place.
Yeah, I think notably for me is that Walukuba were defending champions of the Kabaka Coronation Sevens from last year, and Heathens are the defending champions of the Sevens title they won last year after nearly a long time, nearly I think 11 years of waiting. Yes, so you can imagine the level of competition here, and actually, it was quite the game.
They won away from home.
Yes.
Okongerangako. Okongerangako. They from Kyadondo, the other side, man. A very blessing. So, chinyumidde this season nti tuline Kabaka Coronations, tuline Kyabazinga Sevens. Simanyi omutegesi wa Sevens bwe yakibaze n'agamba nti tuddeyo ku buwangwa n'ennono twagalize abantu omuzannyo gwa rugby. Kuba omuzannyo gwa rugby ekituufu kiri nti abantu bagutya. olw'okubeera nti mubeeramu okutomeragana okubagana kyova olaba nti n'abantu abamu abaana babaganye okubeera nti beetaba mu muzannyo guno naye Michael is muzannyo mulungi bw'oguwa time bw'oguyiga so muleete abaana bayige rugby tujja kunyumirwa.
Yeah, I think one of the, just maybe to piggyback on what he has said, rugby, aside from the physicality, it teaches you so many things. At least one of the things that personally I've engraved is community, personality, being a person that's accountable to other people around you, getting to know the different people in different circles and different spaces. So I think that's something that's very, very important. How you are able to be accountable, to mix and mingle with other people, to make sure that you're a person that other people can be able to rely on regardless of what you do outside the sport. So I think that's a challenge that also us as media spaces have, that how do we make sure that people understand rugby beyond what they see with the hard hits, the big tackles and whatnot, that it's a game that people can trust, because outside the game I know I can talk to someone who is a CEO of this company, who I can maybe offer a service, or I can be someone who can offer a service to this community, giving back in a sort of a CSR way. So that is something that people don't understand about rugby. But also, rugby is the only unique sport in Uganda where rivalries after a game day can actually sit and share a drink together.
Yeah, true.
Other sports, football, you can't find that. You'll never find Express and Villa sitting in one space after a game. That's a bloodbath. Basketball, it's starting to happen, but it's not as comfortable. But rugby, once everything is done at full time, it's just about camaraderie. It's just about enjoying your space and your friendships. Yeah.
So, too much of networking in rugby. Yeah, it's a thumbs up. Yeah, because kubeera n'omuzannyo bwe guti nga katugambe Heathens gye bakubye nga owawalukuba akwata ecupa n'agimuwa mwana. Rugby tumwagale ge mazima.
Yeah, so era tuddamu okubebaza naddala mu aba Fat Cats mwebale nnyo okuteekawo bino ebintu, mwogerako naffe abawagizi ne mumanya biki bye twagala, biki bye twandisuubidde. So olunaku lwaleero olusoose lutuwadde essanyu. Nze essanyu lisinza okunsanyusa, of course essanyu nti olunaku lwaleero luweeredde mu maanyi nga walukuba ekuba Heathens. Heathens ye yasemba kuwangula tournamenti y'emisanvu. National Sevens be bawanguzi, defending champions. Naye okulaba nti walukubizze ne bakubira ewaka e Kyadondo mu ssaza lya Kabaka. Ne basingako balina oluyimba lwabwe baba bamutawaana naye leero walukube badde ya mutawaana okubasingako.
Tugambe nti baba pimpinye.
Beyambudde naye leero kibadde different. But anyway, as we start to close, yes. One of the things we have to notice, of course, that we'll be putting out the quarterfinals and how tomorrow. Remember, Sevens is about 2 days. Day one is all about the preliminaries, the pool stages. Day two is about the knockouts and the placements. But I think let's close by talking about the elephant in the room and the reason.
Elephant in the. I thought you had forgotten.
The reason why you are putting on these particular jerseys.
Yes.
So much. We did 2 segments, 2 episodes of the Scramble of Power in Jinja, with Jinja Hippos having 2 sets of management, all having their claim that they state whether this is the right owner or that's the right owner. We have seen that trickle down to the players, a separation. Some play today in a version of Hippos Rugby Club, but then there's Jinja RFC that had majorly most of the stars that we saw in the Nile Special Rugby Premiership that have not played and stood with their management. So, Edwin, maybe if we start with you, because you are the guy that had those conversations with one chairman of Hippos Rugby Club, John and Manzi, and elected chairman of Jinja Hippos RFC, Joshua Wakabi. So
Ruben, just to correct
Let
you.
me start last. Let me finish. Sorry, let me finish it.
Before
Yes.
he
correcting
wants to
you,
correct me on something.
Manzi nja kwogera mu Luganda because
Yes,
tuli ku
it's
ttaka
okay.
lya Kabaka. Manzi yawaayo obuyinza, he handed over. Era y'omu ku baali batunuulira oba oku-observinga how elections were going. Sisuubira nti ssaawa zino ye yalibadde chairman.
Yes.
But because ekiri ejjinja, that's greed of power. Kyekiri mu kuleetawo eyo embeera yonna. So twagala okubeera nti union evaayo yadde tebadde fair mu kino ekintu because kati abamu balaba nti union sides with the Manzi, the former chairman. The problem is nti tulaba sex kati bbiri, tulaba Hippos Rugby Football Club, tulaba Jinja Hippos Rugby Football Club. Bwe twali tuva mu season ewedde eya 15s nyababuuza ekibuuzo nti Hippos kye yali ezannya, Jinja Hippos or Hippos RFC. Bwe tuba nti twalaba Jinja Hippos, then Jinja Hippos yalibadde ezannya kati because bw'otunuulira fixtures zafulumye zabadde za Jinja Hippos osegera. So kati kyewuunyisa okubeera nti they are not recognized but they on the lineup or the fixture. So kijja kitya ekyo ekibuuzo kidda eri union nti union eremereddwa okubeera nti they are intervening okufuna ekituufu ku bana abantu oba okubazaayo basobola okukola nti Hippos as a registered oba recognized nga bwe bagamba were basobola ogijjako neddayo wansi. Jinja Hippos weba teri recognized and they registered nabo baddeyo tuddeyo mu region wansi tutandike bupya. Kakira started last year or 2 years back but they qualified. Lwaki tebaddayo wansi ne batuula if they can't settle their disputes ne batuula ne bagamba nti okay ekituufu kiri bwe kiti tuddeyo mu region tuzanye game emu ku emu tukomewo nga we are hot. Kinnumye okubeera nti yesterday I received a press release ya Jinja Hippos Rugby Football Club nga babagamba nti babayimiriza, they are not participating because they are not recognized. Ekyo tekyali baddaawo nti oba is too much of heart but fans bafans ababadde banyumirwa omuzannyo gwa rugby naddala Hippos kibateekawa ekyo ng'okijjeeko etiimu esinza okunnuma is the Rapids.
Yes.
I personally,
Uganda Cup champions.
defending champions. Yes. I personally ntaddemuko esente zange ku these girls. But okubeera nti bazanyeko game emu if I'm not mistaken, then ne babayimiriza. This killing talents man. Union simanyi kyerowooza ku kino. Ebyaddala.
Anyway, I get what you're saying. Before we go to Edwin, Kigozi, what are your thoughts on what you've seen? Of course, as Uganda, we always have our issues. Statements come out like at 2 a.m. for one reason or the other. But your thoughts on everything that has unfolded from Hippos, or the full strength Hippos from the lineup that was released previously, being released or being put out, and then those guys being stopped. We saw a different side play today. And then later on also their sisters in our Rapids are told to stop.
So, Ruben obuziza kibuuzo ekirungi. The issues that are happening in Jinja are not new in rugby. While we were watching the games, everyone was saying, man, Ugandan rugby is all about controversies. This is ending, this is happening. One way agambye nti Hippos yachi planning to be in the limelight.
Yes.
Baberenga buli omu ayogera about Hippos.
Yes.
Sigenda kwawula whether Jinja Hippos Rugby or Hippos Rugby Football Club, but kyenyiza okugamba it is one. These are egos colliding.
Yes.
For the love of the sport, I do not know why you would call out a team that has come up and have started to play. Now Rapids would have completed off the day because we have seen things happen. They have played one game, then because Jinja Hippos is not taking part, is not a recognized entity by the union, and Nile Rapids is associated with Jinja Hippos, you stop them. But Nile Rapids is also independent.
Yeah.
So pulling out Nile Rapids isn't right at all. That is wrong for the growth of the sport. Then also, talking about the fact that, okay, maybe my point of view, I'm not a Hippos fan, I'm a rugby fan. I love the growth, I love the vibe that these guys from Jinja have brought, the fans, everything. The tables are shaking now. Yeah. The tables are shaking. You know, they had to take the final to 100 minutes plus.
Yeah.
So, pulling out on the last day wasn't called for. Maybe the organizers would have sat down, found a common ground for both ends of the management. What can we do for the beauty of the sport? Imagine that the last game, the last group game, Hippos against Pirates.
A full strength.
A full strength Hippos, a full strength Pirates.
That would have been
then,
good.
And after that you have Walukoba and Heathens.
Yeah.
You know, we as fans, what would have had. Then also, maybe it's a word of advice for the players. If the management is having its issues, you as a player, you don't have to be vocal about it. These players chose a side and they went vocal, maybe because of one of their teammates who is very vocal. We all know him. He's very vocal about everything. They chose to be, okay, we have to be vocal. Many clubs have issues, but you'll never see players coming out to side with whoever they want to. Leave the management do their stuff, come to the pitch, do your thing. You're a player. Because today you might be at Hippos, tomorrow another club might sign you. Yeah. Are you still going to make noise there? No. When you make noise online, you could be wanted by another club, but then they see that that's a red flag. You yourself, you're piling soil on yourself. So the whole Jinja saga, we shall wait for what comes out, but it is bad and terrible for rugby.
Edwin.
Rugby in the East has been growing rapidly, but that's a big blow to rugby in the East.
Ekintu ekyokola kiri kimu. Jinja Hippos Rugby Football Club baddeyo wansi ku grassroots baregistering with the URSB, baregistering with the union, bazanye regional tournaments, bajje baqualifying. It's 1 year changu nnyo kuba kati kiri open and they are not recognized.
Yeah.
They will not play any game or any circuit. Segera lwakuba nti ekinuma Hippos RFC andabye squad y'abantu ndowooza 8 simanyi oba
it was a makeshift.
One or two subs.
Simanyi oba amateeka ga union gali gatya. Simanyi amateeka ga union gali gatya nti abantu bameka booteekayo tiimu yeetaaga abantu bameka okubeera nti
as long as you have one sub you can play in sevens. As long as you can make the full 7 and you have one sub, you're kawa.
Nekirala simanyi oba Ugandan rugby nti foreigners balina percentage esingako eyabewaka because ndabye something like 6 rwandies. So simanyi oba simanyi oba n'amateeka bwe gatyo bwe gakikola ga union. I'm there to be corrected. Tulina okumanya ekituufu kyeki. Tuve mu keerere, tuve mu kubeera nti gundi tayagala gundi, manzi tayagala wakabi, Jinja Hippos tayagala. I heard even yesterday that Nedam Waters bali mu closing of rugby. So I will confirm and ndabe kibakola kibazaako, but banange sport ebe good day.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, it's bits, but as we start to close, man, these things, you know, it's one of the things for me is that this is sad. This is a team that we saw reach the Nile Special Rugby Premiership final and take Pirates to extra time, and then all of a sudden, while a team has done all that, now we are going into that chaos. And guys, this is a repeated scenario where clubs reach a certain level and then there is always that management or that managerial tussle. So how can we avoid that? Because at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves one question. Who is the loser? Who is the real loser?
The players.
The players and rugby.
They are the players.
Now, players are picking sides because of one thing or the other, and it's very, very unfortunate. But then also we are looking at things like, guys, while players are also choosing sides, we need to put law into account that who registered the original club. People might not be happy with what I say, but omuntu registering the original club, the person who is the rightful owner. There may be some underlying things that happen in between, but you cannot easily push out the rightful owner like that. It does not. Life does not work like that. It's not a fairy tale, and these players need to understand that. And like he said, you either choose. At this point, personally, I think that there is no case of them maybe harmonizing and working together, because so many bridges have been broken. But they need to decide if they are really thinking for rugby in Jinja and rugby in Eastern Uganda, because they had become a powerhouse. Two, if they are not going to work together, then are they ready to go back the grassroots sevens here, go back to the Cura qualifiers and come back?
Yeah, the Euro.
In the 15s, are they also ready to go back to the championship and all? So those are the things that we need to think about. But Edwin, as we close this, give us your take, of course, as someone who has been part of the podcast that we did and probably others that we're going to do, and what we have seen today.
Yeah, I've spoken to both gentlemen, and I think I'll just keep it to what the podcast displayed. I will not discuss what we discussed privately for sake of keeping the conversation at that level. I think the facts from both podcasts that come out is that one, Hippos Rugby Club was founded in 2013, and Jinja Hippos Rugby Football Club, I think, was founded in 2018 as a CBO, and the other one as an NGO, if I'm not mistaken. And in doing so, Hippos Rugby Football Club, so I'll just say Manzi and Wakabi for ease of reference, because those are the personalities in charge of these factions. So they did set up these entities. So what Manzi did mention, he said in 2013, mentioned the structures they put in place and how they managed to succeed from Nile. And in doing so, they tried to push rugby. They participated in a few tournaments in Rwanda. And with that going forward, many people came and understood the vibrancy of Hippos Rugby, notably with them being in sevens. Usually a festival side, they will come and cause a lot of problems. I think we are very, where we are standing exactly is maybe where Etoile got round Sebuliva at one floodlights tournament. So those are the household names that came out of Hippos at the time. And with those household names coming up, many people did get activated in Jinja in terms of Jinja Rugby. And I think also at that particular point, forgive me if I lose my trajectory a bit here, is that Wakabi did mention that Maz was in and out of the company, of the management of the company, that is Hippos Rugby. And at one particular point, he did read out an email on the podcast, did mention that they formed a CBU, I think in 2018. And during that time, I think before the COVID or Nile Star Premiership, which was in 2021, there was a call for entities to provide their documentation, which I think the people in charge at the time, not in charge, but people who are dealing with the day-to-day with the union, did submit particular documents that did say that the club was Jinja Hippos Rugby Football Club. That was my understanding. I could be wrong, but I'm giving my view on this. And those documents were very much admitted, and even communications in terms of KPIs, as well as municipal council approvals and the objectives of rugby in that region, I think were very much handled by those particular people, though not under their leadership that as is now. And I think in that there was some sort of what they call acquiescence by the union at that point. So the understanding at that time was that these people particularly were the ones who are running the club. And then, as Isbi said, there came the famous handover. I think it was last year, 2024, yes, November or December, where the handover happened and where Manzi did handover. Now, from my review of the podcast, my eureka moment of trying to understand where the crisis came was at that point when he said that they were even the ones who would receive the money and whatever at that particular point of onboarding. I think it was a KYC process where the union was trying to understand the different clubs. And I think, not to spell doom or whatever, but I think at that moment, I think is where the issues came up. If the issues were arrested at that point of, I think, those KYC information is maybe, in my view, where that issue could have been solved. So you have one faction saying that they have a constitution that was registered in 2013, another one that was recognized by the union. So now the union is in a position where they are now stuck. They have two entities, obviously with the handover coming in, and then I think Wakabi did make assertions in respect to a constitutional amendment that Manzi tried to sneak in, which obviously Manzi did deny. And they say that no, constitution review must involve people taking time, not just sneaking it as an agenda item. And at that particular point, I think that's where the troubles came. Now, when you look at the two constitutions, they do have two constitutions. One is for Jinja Hippos Rugby Football Club and one for Hippos. Now, they did engage in some sort of arbitration or mediation or even talks.
Just add in
Yes.
a little bit. Hippos over constitution gye bakola,
Yes.
nga bwe mumuyise chairman Manzi,
Yes.
yavaana agamba let's amend the constitution.
Yes.
Nti constitution we bajja amendinga, it gave everyone rights. So ekyogamba nti bw'otunuulira constitution ya 2013 nga Hippos etandika, si ye constitution yeeno eriwo, lwakuba nti ate abamu tebakitegedde nti it's another constitution. The constitution is just amended. Sigamba nti constitution ndala eriemu bakyusankyuse kukwata mu buwaayiro segera, so kyekyo ekikulu.
Yeah, but in that particular regard, you're looking at two entities. So there was no amendment, to say the least. So you have Hippos Rugby Football Club and then you have Jinja Hippos. So now what people assumed was an amendment. Okay, so what my understanding was that other people assumed that the 2018 constitution was an amendment of 2013.
Yes.
Which I think the union, in its decision to revert back to the 2013 constitution, did confirm that that was not an amendment. So I think, as I said earlier, that I think there was a lot of confusion about the onboarding KYCs here and there, and something got lost in translation, to say the least. And in doing so, that's what has brought the problems. So the Wakabi faction believes that the 2018 constitution, which was recognized at the time, is what is in effect. But Manzi says, I registered in 2013 and that is what I did. That is what I've used to build this club. Now, that's why even there was that debate of the AGM where Manzi was given audience and Wakabi was not. So I think as the AGM, we also did notice that Manzi, I think, was given the audience and Wakabi was not.
Yeah.
Because of that decision, they went back on in respect to reverting to the 2013 constitution. But for me, it's not even about the 2013, 2018 constitution or whatever. Me, it brings bigger issues, which you guys talked about, the players. And as we rush to conclude, the players, notably, is that now you have players who are contracted with Hippos Rugby Football Club. No, sorry, Jinja Hippos Rugby Football Club. Yet in actual sense, the union recognizes Hippos Rugby Football Club. So the understanding is that the players are contracted with that entity that is not recognized by the union. So now, as East and Jeremiah have kind of agreed that is there an opportunity of the Hippos, let's say the Wakabi faction, going back and starting afresh. But that brings some legal issues that if it were me involved, I would raise. For example, because you have signed with an entity that is not recognized, ideally those players belong to me.
Yeah.
What we would call a substance over form issue. Meaning that the form of agreement is with Hippos Rugby Football, Jinja Hippos Rugby Football Club, but the substance ideally is that Hippos Rugby Football Club is the one that is registered as the entity involved in Ugandan rugby and recognized. So Manzi is within his rights to say that those players are mine. No, okay, not saying like slaves, but they are technically his. You see what I mean? So now, if you say that we are going to transfer these players to an entity that is going to be formed to play in the regionals, the regional sevens, regional championship, how is the logic going to be? Ramsey did appear on a space where he explained what happens on a transfer and the logistics around that. Players have to, I think the club that is transferring has to sign, the club that is receiving has to sign, and the player has to consent. So now, technically, if as the owner, I would basically say, no, I'm not allowing my players to go. So now, and I think that's why we all agree that at the end of the day, the players are the ones who are bound to suffer. So however much, some may say it's an ego issue, it's a filing issue, some may say it's a principle issue. I think at the end of the day, the players and rugby at general is going to suffer, because we have had 3 players of Hippos play on the national team in a span of many years, actually 4. Jacob Ochen, Yasin Waswa, Julius Opio, and Fahad Maido. So I don't know if I've missed anyone else, but if you this, and maybe Eliphaz Emong at the time.
You add on because when you talk about national team, that's ladies and men. So
yes.
You add on Tina Kelo and Unity Namulala.
Unity Namulala, yes. Thank you very much for that clarification. So you look at it that way, and you see that there's an issue. And without a doubt, the Nile Rapids will obviously suffer the consequences, because it's rather unfortunate that the ladies have to suffer this. But it just goes to show you that when sports and politics clash, the ultimate person who suffers the brunt of it is the player. And how they get out of that is another issue to be discussed. But for me, that's my assessment. I feel like even if it went to court, not to preempt anything or whatever, but it looks, it's quite the thing. There's a lot of issues of how do you balance interests of people who open clubs in Uganda vis-a-vis those who come and take over and implement things. Without a doubt, everyone is saying Hippos is doing well. The agreement is the same. We all agree they are doing well. Now it comes down to leadership. How do the leaders of these factions sit down and agree to make the rugby win? But at the end of the day, rugby winning, all interests are there. Wakabi has put in a lot of effort in investing in this club, and so has Manzi from starting it from grassroots. So how do you balance those interests? That's where the problem comes in. So for me personally, I think this is a matter that court would best address if there is any cause of action for any of these factions. But I think it's a grim picture, and if sevens is something that is going to be the start of it, we expect even by the time of league time, you may find there will be issues logistically and legally for this sport to participate.
Yeah, and that's of course Edwin taking off his Fat Cat's hat to put on his legal hat to give us a bit of a breakdown. But personally, I would like to say that I am happy it has reached this particular point, because that means now people have to take it as an urgent matter that they need to resolve, rather than having a bit of what I can call a cold war, one side or the other. But anyway, we have talked a lot about that, and there's so much that we're going to unravel, of course, with what both sides are saying at the moment, what the authorities that be are saying, what are the limitations of the Uganda Rugby Union in this matter, but also where does court come in to resolve all this. So it's bigger than us, it's bigger than this conversation, it's bigger than what you're seeing in the background. But anyway, what all this is all about is match day 1 and what has happened. Of course, aside from the issues of Jinja Hippos, Heathens losing their final game, so many interesting matchups that came up and so many losses that came up, that we are going to see the quarterfinals really having an interesting feature in which they are going to be able to be positioned. But we'll be having a match day 2 feature of that. We'll also be having different conversations about all the things that are happening as the sevens are saying, the national 7 series. 7 circuits, starting with the Kabaka Coronation sevens. Nga abasajja bwe bagambye nti tuli wano lwa Buganda, Kabaka Coronation sevens ezze kati olwa Kabaka n'amatikira gwe. I hope I'm saying it properly. I'm not a Muganda, but twebaza buli omu azze okuwagira, buli omu alaba online nti mukitegeere nti eno ye circuit esooka, but there are 6 more circuits to go, and we'll be talking about these particular circuits. Let us know what you think in the comments, and cheers.
Sawa Sajja Wangale.